A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean.
This is Alex.
And you're listening to another Coaster Kings radio episode. Today we're actually talking about Wonder Woman Flight of Courage, the brand new single-row roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain that we had the privilege of checking out just a couple days ago. So thank you, Magic Mountain, for inviting us out. It was great to be back at our stomping grounds.
Such a great event.
For those that don't know, Alex and I actually met at Six Flags Magic Mountain in October of 2016. That's where it all started. So anything Magic Mountain related is kind of special for us, and this was this the first time getting ourselves filmed together at Magic Mountain?
Yeah.
Because obviously I've done so many filmings at Magic, but I don't think I've done many with you before.
This was a very special event, and it was our first Magic Mountain roller coaster event together. Because we didn't go to West Coast Racers. We were in Florida.
Yeah, we were.
So this
and then
was...
pandemic happens. Yeah, so I guess so, huh?
So this was really special.
So
full circle moment.
Today we'll be talking about everything DC Universe, what happened there, what's going to happen there, what Wonder Woman looks like, what the ride experience is like. We have some questions from our readers on Instagram. I picked a couple of them. We'll be featuring them as well. So that's all we're going to do today. So the first thing we'll talk about is DC Universe. So that started its life as, was it the backlot area? What was it called originally when they built Z-Force and stuff?
It was the backlot. It's been, that area
it's been
several things. Because when the Himalaya and the Roundup were first added in 1974, it was kind of a new wing to the park. And it was the flat ride area. And now, it's crazy, because, the Flash, sadly, is no longer with us. The Himalaya...
However, it is rumored to come back. It's still on site under Scream.
Yeah.
So we have a possibility of it coming back.
And Teen Titans Turbo Spin, which is, the fifth incarnation of the park's original Hrubert's Roundup that has... I mean, these rides are old. These are from the 60s, and somehow, Magic Mountain still has theirs, and Six Flags Great Adventure still has theirs, too. So I think that's pretty cool. I really like the direction that they're going in with DC Universe, because it's definitely more open and clean than the Gotham City stuff, which...
So admittedly, how it previously looked is you had kind of two plazas within the middle, an attraction. So one was a restaurant, Tea Time Pizza, and one was the Flash, and then you had the Green Lantern Station-ish ride, and then Batman, and then some facades, and of course then you had at the front Wonder Woman's Lasso of Truth, which is now Teen Titans Turbo Spin, and then two smaller food stands, and then a store. So it felt a lot busier before, which I kind of like because it was the street situation.
Yeah.
But this allows them, what they currently have, which is way more open, gives a lot more opportunity for something new to come in, which it is supposed to be getting a bar restaurant setup where currently the big open square is where Flash used to be.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential there.
And they're also building a new store that's not yet open that the Batman exit and the Wonder Woman Flight of Courage exit into. So it'll be a DC Comics store. They're going to keep the small side store as well. They're building some new facades that kind of connect Teen Titan Turbo Spin with the back of the land. And the queue for Batman has been rerouted so that the exit for Batman can now spill into the store as well. So that's kind of interesting. And Batman got all these effects redone. So the spinning fan, the tunnel is has a light effect now and it's spinning. In the queue, the old videos are working on new screens. And the giant emblem, which hasn't been lit up in years. I mean, I can't remember ever being lit up. It's now lit up.
Big improvement.
So, Batman really saw some love because it got repainted as well, because it was kind of chipping paint already, when they repainted Riddler. So, that's a nice upgrade as well. And then, of course, there's Wonder Woman. Before we get to Wonder Woman, though, a couple of things I got to mention. The archway has been upgraded. So, it's kind of like the one at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, Six Flags Great America. That's all the same kind of archway now, the more metallic one.
And the Batmobile, which used to mark the entrance of not only DC Comics area, but Gotham City, has been relocated now to the very front of the Batman entrance area, and Batman has also received a new light-up sign marquee out there behind the Batmobile, and it matches the new kind of Batman logo that we're seeing on, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom.
Yeah, it's kind of in the same range as the new Wonder Woman logo, which is also very artsy and modern. Now, the cool thing is about DC Universe, for years, everyone has been wanting DC Universe and Metropolis to be connected. It never really made a whole lot of sense that there was DC Universe since 2010, but then there was still like Riddler kind of like over on the side on its own, especially when they built the Battle for Metropolis. Okay, so they have Metropolis now, but it looks like, it is not 100% confirmed, but if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of what is known at this point, is that they are connecting Metropolis and DC Universe via a walkway that runs parallel to Wonder Woman on the side of the airtime hill and the stall between what used to be like a hot maze back in like 2011 and now is just storage. There's, even if you're in the area, you can see there's a construction wall up there, and there is no curb for the concrete. The concrete just kind of keeps going. And then there's two additional expansion pads where Tidal Wave used to be. So Tidal Wave's turnaround, which is as in like when you get back to the station like
and
queue.
What rubs up right against the original Midway.
Yeah, for where the boardwalk is now. And then there is on the other side of Wonder Woman what used to be the lift hill, the drop, and the splashdown of Tidal Wave, which is kind of like matching, going up to the supports for Riddler's lift and drop.
There's a lot of space back there.
A lot of space.
Because there's also the vacancy still left over by Freefall.
Right.
So you could put something pretty decent size in there.
And the nice thing is that the superstructure for Wonder Woman supports, there is a really clear dirt pathway underneath it, and like a brick bridge support where they can clearly build like a midway, and there's no fencing there.
Yeah.
So it looks like maybe in the next couple of years we'll see like the official expansion of Metropolis and DC Universe becoming one giant connected land that I think people have been wanting literally forever now.
I mean, ever since when I was a kid, and it was still the Riddler area. When Riddler opened, they turned that area into DC Comics Plaza.
No, it was
what was it?
DC it was like movie. It was the movie district.
Movie something because we had Gotham City,
but it did not have DC on
and
it though.
Movie
district.
It wasn't movie district.
I think it was. We had this conversation like a couple episodes ago.
I need to pull up a map.
At least that's what it was listed. I'm pretty sure it was movie district in like 07 when I went.
Maybe it was Six Flags St. Louis that had DC Comics Plaza for Mr. Freeze.
It's very possible.
It was something like that.
Anyways, so that's all expected to be connected. We don't know when. I would love a big flat ride package. I think Magibond is the perfect park to put a flat ride package in. So having what was formerly Flash, and it's probably going to become like a bar restaurant area, and then the two expansion pads where Tidal Wave used to be, it could really create an awesome connected DC universe. So maybe like a Zempro Discovery, like a modern version of an Enterprise would be cool.
An Endeavor, you mean?
An Endeavor, sorry. No, Discovery. We literally are there, Discovery.
Discovery.
An Endeavor would be really nice. And I also wouldn't mind seeing one of those giant boosters like Six Flags St. Louis just opened, the Catwoman Whip one. So there's lots of opportunities there. I'm hoping a flat ride package, but let's not focus on that too much. Let's go ahead and talk about Wonder Woman some more. So Wonder Woman, obviously, it's taken over the old spot of Green Lantern's First Flight. I had the privilege of writing it quite a bit because when I moved to the U.S., it was like the second season for it, so like it was still running pretty well. It was like, it was a hype, and I've always really enjoyed seeing the emblem from anywhere in Valencia, like at night, the giant Green Lantern emblem on the sign. It was kind of like a cool vibe. Obviously, the ride didn't last, and it was kind of a nightmare, but they have nicely repurposed that station.
Definitely.
And so a couple things they've repurposed is that the entrance marquee is in the same spot now for Wonder Woman as it was for Green Lantern. Obviously, different logo, different aesthetic, because we have more of like the Romanish pillars going on, like the temple kind of aesthetic for Wonder Woman. But then the switchbacks with the
is it Roman or Greek? I mean,
it's pretty similar.
I haven't seen. Confession time. Like, I haven't seen any of the Wonder Woman movies.
I mean, she's quite literally from a mythical island in the middle of the ocean that uses that aesthetic. So it's technically anything.
Yeah, so it's fiction. It is
totally fictional. But anyway, so we used the switchbacks outside that Green Lantern had. It's just a new cover that's red. And then what they really changed is the indoor section. So Green Lantern used to have an indoor queue that kind of went past some big scenery pieces of a crashed aircraft in the desert. Now they have changed that giant room into switchbacks, which is themed to the embassy of Themyscira.
There's like the goddesses and gods.
That's exactly what it is, because that's what the embassy of Themyscira is.
Are they Greek gods or Roman gods?
They are Roman gods.
They're real gods, though. I just don't know the difference between
Roman
and...
I'm not entirely sure. As media, we didn't go in there.
We didn't spend a lot of time in there.
We actually were allowed to speak.
I want to say that they were Greek gods. because they were all recognizable names. I'm not familiar enough with
the
mythology,
franchise. Yeah,
or just in general.
Well, all I know is that it's themed to. I mean, it's literally called the Embassy of whatever you pronounce that, Themyscira, whatever.
I don't know what it's pronounced
which is
either.
the fictional city-state island in the middle of the ocean that nobody knows about that one woman lives at or comes from. So it's an indoor switchbacks, and the flash pass goes through that as well. And then you meet up at lockers, and then you go to the back side of the station, and that's where you head upstairs. And then at the end of the station, so where the train just comes in when it returns, that's where you load. And then the exact opposite side, you exit and down the ramp, past the lockers to grab your items and then leave. So it's kind of like the Philosopher system, except for you enter the lockers on the same side, but it is built into the queue. Wonder Woman does do the continuous loading thing, which is cool. It's been running 4 trains consistently.
It's a nice long station.
It's a nice long station, so it technically fits like 2 whole trains minus
2
1
cars.
car. Because only 1 car doesn't unlock if they're both parked.
Oh, yeah, true.
So it's like almost 2 entire trains that can fit in there, but it's meant to roll through.
Yeah.
So the nice thing is that they've been running 4 trains on it consistently, which actually makes the single row coaster pretty decent capacity, which is great. We're to talk about some ride experience.
You were right. It was Movie District.
Cool.
It's on Wikipedia.
Awesome.
I just wanted you to know.
Ride experience-wise,
I really enjoyed this ride, and to be honest with you, I was apprehensive about riding based on our experiences with other single rail coasters.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
But it was definitely a palatable experience, and the length of the train helps with pacing and offers different experiences front and back.
Definitely very
different experiences. Like, you could say that about a lot of coasters, but with Wonder Woman, I don't think there's a coaster on Earth that is like
it's tight,
more different.
It's tight elements, tight rolls.
Yeah.
But the train is some of the longest trains in the world with like 12 rows.
Like 12 individual vehicles.
So it's almost like having a B&M with 12 cars, but then like super tight. You know? It's really interesting. Because some elements, they're just completely different experiences, whether you're in the front or back.
And then we rode, our first rides, it was cold, you guys. It was sweater weather.
It was 4 a.m.
in the morning.
Yeah, well, I guess we started riding at 5 personally, but yeah.
The ride definitely needed to warm up, except that for me, it was like the perfect level of intensity when it hadn't warmed up and it was still cold inside. And then as the day got on and it got really hot, it got like quite warm.
It got really fast.
And the ride got really fast, and I was like,
because in the morning when
intense.
we were there at like 5, even though there were people on board, it would like hardly make it to the final brakes. Like it would just kind of like crawl through the overbank. Yeah. But later it was just flying into those brakes. Really fascinating how much of a difference that makes once it's heated up. But let's talk a little bit about the ride by element, and we'll kind of say like, all right, is this better in the back or better in the front? I always think it's kind of fun to do.
Oh, yeah.
So let's start with the drop. I mean, I say drop's better in the back.
Yeah.
Because front gives you the cool views, but the back, it's you get whipped over that hill. It's nice.
We were lucky. We each got 1 front seat ride.
I got several back seat rides.
And I got a seat, and I got a ride in row 11, which is close enough for me. I feel like I got the experience.
You hit the dive loop. Dive loop's better in the front.
Dive loop.
Because you really fly into it. You do like a really wild twist.
I don't know.
Really quickly.
The dive loop freaked me out in the front. Like, I felt like I was going too fast. It gave me Railblazer nightmare flashbacks.
I think the cool thing about the dive loop on this, and it's most version of this ride that are just so different than the traditional versions of it, is like you are upright, almost like you're cresting the hill upright, like an airtime hill.
Yeah.
And then you're facing the top of Better from Metropolis. Mm-hmm. And then you just like do a really quick dive.
The flip is so violent.
It's very violent.
It's only a couple car lengths long. Like the twist in the dive loop is
it's so
which
good.
is beautifully illustrated by photography of the ride.
Yeah, so check it out on thecoasterkings.com. They've got some awesome videos and photos, and we also go through every element there as well, so you can get a better look at what we're talking about. But
the airtime hill was really, really good in the front. Like
I would say it's the front. I feel like most airtime hills are good in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's the front.
And the stall was... I'd take the back seat for the stall. I'm going to say the back seat for most elements on the ride, because my front seat ride was too much for me.
Yeah, I think the stall is fine in the front, but I almost feel like you rush into it so fast you don't really get to enjoy the upside down part.
Visually, it's so
But in the back, I felt like I could really look up the entire time. Like, wow, I'm like actually suspended. Nice thing about this stall is
it's like hypnotic.
Most stalls, like Velocicoaster or even Twisted Colossus, you roll into it, but then like you roll into kind of at the height of the element.
Yeah.
Your stall is kind of flat. This element, you roll into it, and it's kind of like
I mean,
the entire airtime hill upside
down.
down.
Top Gun stall? Is that what this is?
Yeah, something like that. But
because you were just
park
upside down for so long.
Yeah, you're quite literally. Imagine this like a parabolic hill, and then about like a third up, it starts twisting. But then 2/3 of the hill are completely upside down.
Like the entire,
I was really impressed by that.
Upside down portion of it is like longer than the length of the train.
Oh yeah,
and these trains are huge, so you spend a couple seconds upside down. I think
it's really, really cool. And
great moment.
It's one of the first stalls, and of course I've done quite some coasters with stalls on it now, but that was one of the first stalls I feel like I could really look around upside down, but without feeling like I'm hanging. Like it was still like positive G.
Like the zero G stall perfected.
Yeah, for sure. And then, but I would say it's in the back though, preferred. Yeah. Now, next up you have that really wild...
favorite part.
That favorite part of the ride. If everyone's seen our on-ride where I'm like really excited about this element.
Excited.
So like what you do is you fly... So you kind of like head towards the left, and then you make a
kind of
really
a
quick twist to the right, and you have this really highly elevated 90 degrees banked turn that's flat. It's something that's never been done before, besides obviously Jersey Devil. But like it's not something you can really do on the coaster. It's not a single roll coaster because you just simply don't have the opportunity to make something that tight and so quick.
Yeah.
And it was something really weird about being in such an incredibly tight turn, 90 degrees banked and going really fast through it, and then also being elevated.
It's like a donut. Like you're doing a little
weirdest,
donut.
but it's the coolest thing. And our friends at Cheap Enthusiasts, they actually made a little GIF out of it, where I'm just like,
they made
with my fingers because I'm like,
made a GIF
I'm like in the video, like so excited, with my fingers up, like,
you were like finger guns your way through it.
I was so excited. So
and then it finishes with the airtime hill exit
after it.
So
now, but here's the thing: going into the element, I preferred in the front. But the drop after it, I prefer
it's
the
a backseat moment. Yeah.
But that whole circular thing, because you're going to it so fast, better in the front.
Yeah.
But then going off the drop of it, it's just kind of like the
I
first
love
drop.
the
I like
whole
it best
element in the back because you really get pulled through the top from.
It's kind of one of those things where like the beginning of the element is obviously like rushed through by the front. It's where like you kind of finish up the turn and get pulled down the hill in the back. But I would still say that element overall is the front rail elements. It's just so good. Is it your favorite element?
No.
I guess we'll talk about it in a little bit.
No.
At least you know what my favorite element
is. It's not.
Then there is the zero G roll, which is like one of the most zero G rolls existing.
It's truly zero. It's a great floating airtime.
And it's kind of funny because I was wearing a necklace on our POV, and I'm like looking at it. My necklace is like a perfect place. It just like floats in space.
It's like levitating.
Well, we like rotate around, and I was like, oh shit,
you
this is really
rotated
zero G
around your necklace.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is really zero G. The funny thing about this element is that the zero G roll, it starts twisting way lower in the elements, and then it kind of like almost like a 7 underflip when it comes to the rotation of the flipping, reaches its flip at the top of the element, but then it comes out of flip upright so quick that like it kind of becomes a drop.
Yeah,
it's a really interesting upward zero G roll.
Yeah, the approach into the zero G roll starts much lower than the exit starts on its respective half of
exactly.
The hill.
So it really feels like you're like flying into it. The majority of the zero G roll, like the rolling part, takes place in the first half of the elements, and then it's really snappy exit of it. But I think the reason it's done that way is because you have so much speed coming into it.
Yeah,
it feels like a continuous roll because you lose speed going up that hill. Then you can make that exit tighter while it maintains that same
kind of like how a clothoid loop, a vertical loop, is shaped tighter at the top to account for losing speed. Yeah. This roll feels like it is designed where it's like very sharp at the top with this gradual entrance.
For those that are really into Intaments and you have seen the new dragon themed Intamin Impulse coaster in Chongqing,
yes,
it does this. The spikes get tighter as they go more vertical because the train goes slower. So the rate of twisting remains the exact same because the higher the train goes, the tighter the track gets, but also it loses speed. And it's kind of how this element works as well. Because it loses a little bit of speed, the element becomes tighter, making that zero G roll the perfect constant rate of twisting and zero G forces the entire time.
And then I think this makes the element yet another backseat element for me because, again, you get pulled through it very dramatically, like starting a lawnmower.
But also, you have to think about it this way. You're on your single file.
Do I?
Yes,
do
you
I
do.
Have to think about it this
Girl,
way?
I'm about to blow your mind. So, since you are in the single file ride, you're always the hard line. You are the hardline.
You are the heart of
There's so
the
few
matter.
rides, but there's an actual hardline seat, and I don't like this Umbrella 3 in a row. So this is the only real kind of coaster.
Does anybody really like?
No, I don't think anyone likes
I don't
it.
think
This
anyone
is the only
actually
kind of
likes
coaster where you really kind of get that, like, you're the hardliner.
And then there's Texas Cliffhanger
Texas Cliffhanger.
that has 7 across seating, the dive coaster.
Oh yeah, I guess there's a good hardline though too, but that's not
That's
open yet.
the Heartline.
That is also the hardline seat.
The first B&M with the Heartline.
7 across seating. Anyway, so next element, you got the little mid course you can jump into.
Love the
Decent there.
mid-course.
It's actually kind of a long mid course, so it can actually slow down the fast moving train completely.
Yeah.
And evacuate if needed.
Like you could come to a pretty comfortable stop
Yeah.
at full speed.
And then there's a little dive off of that, and there's like this overbank turnaround.
It's a really
And then kind of
low
Mark
to
started the
ground,
second
like
ride.
a little overbank dirt turn, which is
Really
nice
pleasant.
and squirrely. Yeah.
I like it the best in the back as well because you kind of go whip through it. Front is good too because you can push through. But I think the back, the whippiness of it, and then there's like just like it's airtime
and
central
then it's
on
the
the
like,
back.
and then the RMC like classic moments.
Start with a
like
left
Iron
outbank
Horse.
turn.
Yeah.
It has pretty good head choppers actually
Yeah.
because you kind of there's a support built like right around it just so you can fit through there.
Yeah.
Then there's one to the right, and then it gets different than Jersey Devil because there's this tiny little airtime hill that's super snappy in the front or in the back. Doesn't really matter where you're at. This is also what crosses over what's going to be the future expansion midway between those plots we talked
Doesn't
about
Jersey
earlier.
Devil have the little airtime hill?
It goes into the brakes.
It doesn't have the little airtime hill?
I thought that Lily went into the brakes there.
Wait, okay, hold on. Now, I'm pretty sure Jersey Devil has the tiny airtime hill, and then it goes up into the brakes.
All right, I made a mistake. Anywho, after that, you have the another outbank turn this to the right, and then you dive all the way down to the ground. The reason that's important that I say that is because Jersey Devil is on a flat piece of land, but Magic Mountain's not flat because it's built on a mountain, literally. So there's a part of it, Jersey Devil, that's kind of like elevated. So what on Jersey Devil?
Does have it. See,
what's on? Okay, great. So what's on Jersey Devil and has it's like the bottom of the ride. That's the bottom of the ride over by Riddler at Magic Mountain. However, there's a pretty steep drop off from where the height of Riddler's entrance to where the ride actually is located. So
because like nothing in Magic Mountain is actually flat. Even
Right.
if it looks flat, it's not.
So most of the ride's elements are actually elevated to the point where like the bottom of the 0G roll, the stall, the turnaround, all that kind of stuff is all elevated off the floor because you're at the lower part of the park. But what the difference is in Jersey versus Jersey Devil and One Woman Flight of Courage is that the added element there actually dives all the way down to the ground, so it comes significantly lower than the rest of the ride, and then has that overbank into the brakes that goes over the plaza where the Wonder Woman entrance is.
That's
Overall,
actually
really
my
good.
favorite part of the ride.
As a
It's
finale?
the third after the little airtime pop, the outer bank or the outside bank turn into the drop that goes way lower than the rest of the ride. I realize I like that not only because it's like the unique part of this ride versus Jersey Devil, but I like it because it always catches me it catches me by surprise because you see the rest of the ride around you and it kind of fools the eye into thinking you know where the ride bottoms out, especially based on what you've already been riding. It's like it really is the one moment in the ride where you're like, oh, this is a topographically diverse ride, even just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it takes you all the way to the ground, and then you pull up into the very nice overbank over the entrance plaza. It's kind of fun looking down and seeing people looking back up at you. And then you go into the brakes.
Yep, and then the brakes are quite long. They have this turnaround at the end of the brakes that goes towards the station, which is how 4 trains are pretty easily done.
Yeah.
There's it's continuous loading, not really stopping. You have about 2 trains that can be in the station, and the ride itself is so long, really, that it's easily a 4 train, which is really great. Like I don't think Jersey Devil has even 4 trains to run. I thought I ran 3. But it's also a shorter ride, I guess.
It's a shorter ride.
Yeah,
so.
and it doesn't have the turn at the beginning because there really is a lot more real estate to Magic Mountain, but having that turn into the lift.
Yeah.
You have the longer brake runs with the turn, all that kind of good stuff. Let's move on to some questions from our Instagram people. We picked about 6 of them. Let's start with @Fred7552. How do you compare Wonder Woman to Jersey Devil and other Raptors? So
this is what I wanted to touch on earlier. I was getting ahead of myself. But, So we haven't ridden Jersey Devil yet. And it was funny because we joked about it after like Magic Mountain's coaster was leaked, like in 2019, I think.
Oh, 2020.
Was it 2020? I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was during the pandemic.
Oh, it was? Okay. It feels like a long time ago. But I remember jokingly telling you, like, oh, I bet we'll ride this one at Magic Mountain before we even ride the original at Great Adventure. Not because we don't like Great Adventure, because we do. Great park. But
we're Magic Mountain.
Yeah, but we're Magic Mountain people. And it's like
our home park.
We weren't sure when we would be back at Great Adventure, but we knew we'd be back at Magic Mountain several times a year, like always. And sure enough, we rode Wonder Woman, sight unseen. It's like we had no Jersey Devil to compare it to, although I heard very positive feedback from people who had ridden Jersey Devil. Cheap Enthusiast had mentioned that, because they go to Great Adventure a lot, and he said that it was not running very well its first year, soft wheels, sluggish performance, but that this year it's having a much better year. It's running a lot faster. It's running more like how Wonder Woman appears to run based on, like...
I will say that we haven't ridden Jersey Devil. Most people that I do know that have ridden Jersey Devil and also Wonder Woman all say that Wonder Woman just flies. Like, it's way faster. It's a way better attraction. That's all I can say. We haven't ridden them both ourselves. However, we have ridden the two of the original small Raptors. So we've done, obviously, Wonder Woman, the Golden Lasso coaster at CKR at Texas, and we have also done Trailblazer at California Gate America. I don't love those because they're so intense and so crazy fast and tight that it just kind of hurts your body, especially your shoulders.
I just feel like those coasters are in a hurry to be over with themselves, and it's like, what the hell was that? Like, by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel... It feels like it goes faster than it should. There's a pacing issue for me, especially on Trailblazer. Even though that's the better-looking one with, like, the paint job and the landscaping and the ATV-themed trains.
Tunnels, all the good stuff. Yeah.
Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster, actually, I enjoyed more because they, for the life of them, can't seem to fill those trains. It has the continuous loading, 8-car trains?
Yeah.
And every time we rode, they were lucky to get 5 or 6 seats filled.
Because the trains had to go out so quick.
Yeah, so there's no mid-course. So it's just, I don't know. But I just liked Jersey Devil, so it just felt like the pace. And some people are going to...
You mean Wonder Woman?
Oh, yeah. I liked Wonder Woman so much better. This Wonder Woman, Magic Mountain's Wonder Woman. And people are going to agree with me and feel the exact opposite. They'll agree that the pacing on the rides are so dramatically different.
That they prefer the smaller ones.
And they prefer the smaller ones for that reason.
I will say that most people I've seen comment on it, like honestly on Instagram and stuff, all the people that have ridden, most people do really seem to be on Camp Wonder Woman. And I think it's another reason that Wonder Woman that I prefer so much is because it has all these big, elongated elements.
Yeah.
It takes the time to do like that crazy Top Gun stall where like you're upside down for so long. It has big airtime hills. It kind of does hyper things on like a different kind of coaster, and at no point do I feel like the smaller Raptors give you a second to enjoy anything.
Yeah.
And at Wonder Woman, they're intense, fast elements, but they're large, and there's airtime hills, and it really feels like it could just be like a modern new version of a hypercoaster in a smaller scale.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of a ride like Goliath at Wallaby Holland, like this junior hypercoaster with these big broad strokes and lots of airtime. And just a ride where everything feels like it spends just enough time in its moments before it moves on to the next thing. But there's definitely going to be people who will prefer like the ape shit bat out of hell experience of Trailblazer, and that's fair. So
sure. Next question is from @Colin8R. How's the airtime after the mid-course and the elements that aren't on Jersey Devil? So I guess you already kind of touched on the elements of Jersey Devil, but let's just talk about everything post-mid-course that includes the airtime hills, but also includes the non-Jersey Devil stuff. It's actually quite good.
Air's great on that.
Because despite you slowing down a little bit on the mid-course, there is it's pleasant. Like it's
definitely...
There's a good mix of what I feel like is floater and like ejector.
That one, the tiny airtime hill in between the Outer Bank Hills is the one, like, classic Iron Horse jackhammer airtime moment.
Sure.
Which one is fine, but, like, 6 of those in a row, a la Steel Vengeance, is not fine for me.
So, yeah, how I kind of feel like it is the, once you, of course, do the third turn over bank.
Yeah.
You have the first outer bank that's pretty decent ejector. Then you have the outer bank that's kind of like a floater.
Yeah.
Then you have the ejector on the small hill,
Like
and then you have more
floater
on the final outer bank.
On the Wonder Woman outer bank.
Yes. So overall, it's a good mix of airtime. I mean, it's nothing like absolutely crazy, but it's exactly how I like it because in California, having airtime is already such a luxury. The fact that Magic Mountain now has it's kind of like the airtime capital of California, which I mean with 20 coasters you better. But
this segues beautifully into the next question.
It really does. So the next question from @Conrad_1951 is this the airtime machine that the West Coast needed?
Honestly, yeah,
I
think so.
Because here's the thing. And maybe this is a weird opinion. I think we're talking with like Greg from Park Journey at the event, and we're like, people give Goliath too much shit because it's so different from like all the other hypercoasters out there. That like if you live in California, you wish you had a Mako, but when you live in Orlando, you miss your Goliath. Like,
yeah, totally.
So it's one of those things where it's like because there's so many of these same hypercoasters out there. I'm kind of glad that California didn't get the same hypercoaster.
Yeah, I don't think
have super unique. Coastery.
I don't think about Mako. I know that's a lot of people do. And Mako's a fine ride, but there's just so many Makos out there. And Goliath and Titan feel like really, really special rides.
Yeah, I agree. And they run so well.
I really crave and cherish my Goliath rides.
Could the West Coast have used on like a Giga? Sure. It's just not the market for it, though. Like,
and
isn't.
It'll never be too late to build a Giga. Gigas will always be relevant. So,
though they're super expensive investments.
We may never see one, but that's not to say that one wouldn't be appreciated, I guess.
But it's a good mix of airtime. So like between that, Goliath, Twisted Colossus, and like stuff
West Coast Racers and both of the underground coasters, I think, have pretty solid airtime.
Yeah, or I was gonna say in like maybe like stuff like Ghost Rider, you have really kind of like good different kinds of airtime. But this single rail coaster is so different than the one at Great America that it's still really. It's way more like a hyper like airtime focus versus the crazy ejector.
I think this ride really is the floater airtime machine that California has been missing.
I mean, it does get a little ejectory, especially when it gets hotter.
A little bit, yeah, towards the end, especially if you're in the front of the train. But if you're in the back, it's just floater air.
I mean, if we want airtime, and we're gonna, I kind of leave this question is taking so much time. But if we want to talk airtime, there's such a large variety of it, and there's so much airtime on this coaster. That I mean, this is the airtime machine. This state needed.
Yeah.
Or like the West Coast, I guess.
Yeah.
So the answer, yes.
Yeah.
Next question is from Paul Sosk6008 asking, is Wonder Woman Flight of Courage better than the one in Texas? So referring to Wonder Woman
Golden Lasso.
Golden Lasso coaster. I think we already kind of answered that.
It's going to be extremely subjective. For us, we think the ride is better paced, more substantial. Obviously, bigger, longer. It's all.
I will say I kind of like the setting of the one in Texas because it has it's right next to the cliff. It's over the water, which is cool. It's the only one of them that's
you really can't do wrong at Fiesta Texas because that location is banging.
At the same time, though, Wonder Woman for a Magic Mountain coaster is awfully nicely dressed up because it has all the gravel underneath it.
Yeah.
It is right in between all the coasters,
the
all
views
the action.
From that lift hill are incredible, are they not?
Totally.
It's just a real treat.
So I guess in always it's still for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, for us, definitely Wonder Woman is.
And you have the terrains. You have all the mountains, and you can really look into the park, and you're still kind of below Tatsu, hovering over the mountain. I mean, Magic Mountain is like you
get a great view of the neighborhood behind Magic Mountain, where we're looking at houses.
And of course, you're like right next to Riddler, which Riddler is such an aesthetically pleasing coaster.
Yeah.
So yes, Wonder Woman at Six Flags Magic Mountain wins that one.
It's the winner for us.
Next question comes from at @D_ambassador_ERT, which it was nice meeting you at the media event, by the way. What seats did what elements best? So I guess we kind of already answered that.
We can do a quick little speed run. So first drop is backseat.
So let's say all the elements that are best in backseat are first drop, a 0G stall.
Yeah.
Drop off of the high turn.
Drop off of the mid-course.
Start with the mid-course. Practically all the elements after the mid-course?
I would give everything after the mid-course to the front row.
Okay.
Like, objectively, even though it wasn't for me. So I would say a majority of the elements on the ride really lend themselves to the front seat.
But the back was way whippier, though.
But the back I prefer, personally.
So,
for comfort reasons.
So I guess I kind of answered that question.
Yeah.
And then the last question we picked for this is at Ricardo.Alcaraz.37201. What do you love best about this coaster? What do I love best about it? Kind of goes into the next segue. So
Yeah,
I don't
which is about how it
in
stands
fact,
out
we're just
and
gonna bring it
complements
to the next
Magic
segue.
Mountains.
Yeah. So my favorite thing about this coaster is that I didn't know what Magic Mountain needed, and honestly, I was here like Magic Mountain seems like a mech string spinner, which is still neat. Don't get me wrong, because that's such a unique attraction.
We
really
talk about that a
lineup. But I thought, okay, they already have an RMC. The single roll thing already exists in California. Is this really what they need? Like they have these massive coasters. Now we're having 130 foot tall.
People were skeptical, but it would be
Wonder
the right
Woman
choice.
single rail. But honestly, riding it, that's like exactly what the park needed.
Yeah.
There are so many ways, like, if you have 20 or 19 coasters already, so you're 20th.
Yeah.
There is a chance of you feeling like, wow, this coaster is kind of like this coaster. Or, like, in a way, you
when
have,
West
like,
Coast
racers. It's like, oh, it's full throttle.
People are like, okay, and, it's just these two coasters combined.
And Twisted Colossus, you know? Which, I mean, it's a great ride, and it's really different still on its own. But this really does feel like something completely unlike anything at the park. And given it's so different from any of the older Raptors, or the smaller Raptors, it's just like a really nice compliment. It is large enough to feel like, okay, this is like a Magic Mountain size coaster.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, luckily Magic Mountain is Magic Mountain, and they always seem to be adding Magic Mountain size coasters. They'll always do something that's like big scale. They don't really do the small stuff. Unless it's like a Bugs Bunny World thing, Right. But even West Coast Racer was such a massive addition, like such a big suspended infrastructure. So, I think that's my favorite thing about the ride.
Yeah.
Is really noticing that it complemented the park so well, and I wasn't expecting that.
I think two major things. The fact that it's a floater airtime machine is something really unique to this ride at Magic Mountain when you consider, like, Twisted Colossus being full of, like, jackhammer airtime is what I call it, because that's, like, the classic RMC thing. So being a floater airtime, some sort of little flow-jector moment airtime on this ride.
Flow-jector, I like
And
that.
then, for me, just the single rail riding configuration, it's a gimmick, but it's a good gimmick. Like, it's
very different, for sure.
It's an interesting thing. And I think most people who go to Magic Mountain are roller coaster people. Southern Californians are seasoned coaster enthusiasts. You can ride 50 coasters and not leave the region. So for Magic Mountain to build something that really feels different among coasters was a wise choice.
You know what I've really enjoyed seeing is I'm over here thinking like, wow, like even when you look at it from a distance, Wonder Woman's kind of it looks kind of small because it has that super tight rails.
Yeah,
and it's not as tall as like Gorilla that towers over it, right? And it's not by any means in the highest elevated part of the park. So. But then you look at like the Instagram stories and the Facebook reactions, all the comments we've gotten, and all the replies we've gotten on Instagram and on TikTok and on Facebook, and people are legit being like, this is my favorite ride at Magic Mountain.
Yeah,
like this is
people are
like there's 20 coasters and they're ranking Wonder Woman number one, and it makes me very happy because again it ties into the whole idea of like I didn't realize how well of a fit it was until I wrote it.
Yeah.
I guess kind of like the message here is like, oh, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Write something and then you can really make a good opinion of it, which I try to do anyway. But in this case, I was just so pleasantly surprised and seeing how big the hype is of the people that have written it and how much they love it. I didn't expect it to be loved over Twisted Colossus. I didn't expect people to be like, oh yeah, it's over Tatsu or X2. I know X2 is not everyone's favorite because it's so insane and intense.
It's a wild, crazy, insane experience, like Jekyll and Hyde.
It's really, really fun how well panned out, and I think it's a great fit for Magic Mountain. I've already, mentioned like 25,000 times now, but yeah.
So we're into it. We wrote it. I wrote it 13 times. You
wrote it's a high praise.
Times.
One of few things you said to each other is like, "Oh yeah, I'd actually wait for this," and
it's
such a weird thing that we tell each other. It's like when we ride new things, we kind of judge it like, would I wait for this? Would I willingly stand in line for an hour for this?
Am I happy with how long I waited for this? And would I wait in this line
that's kind
again?
of how we gauge coasters.
Yeah.
And we both said to each other, like, even after riding it a bunch out waiting, would I wait for this? Yeah, I'd probably jump in line and wait now for it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. So great praise. Secret Magic Mountain, congratulations on this edition. I think you have a really great roller coaster in-house. I can't wait to see what is next for DC Universe and Metropolis and the whole wide world connected over there. Or what's next coaster-wise, because now you have 20 coasters. Great number to be at for a little while for marketing purposes. But at the same time, the clock is ticking.
I know they're always looking on their next coaster.
Right.
I don't think they ever
And
stop.
I think they're such a coaster destination. Another thing we mentioned while we were at the event is And you can see this on our YouTube video as well with the press opening. They had all these banners, so the event was kind of like for all the press stuff and like the official opening and stuff. There was like all these ride banners. And since the 50th anniversary of Magic Mountain in 2021, they have really started embracing their coaster collection.
Yeah.
It took them years to get to the point where they aren't trying to market the family thing. They aren't trying to market just the DC heroes. They aren't trying to market the throw capital of the world. I mean, they still say that.
Yeah.
But they took all their coasters. They had this really nice artwork for each of them, which is just like a really nice
it was like
background with like a really stellar picture in the front.
X2, no, not Riddler.
Riddler was
X2,
over by the gates too.
Yeah.
Which wasn't on the stage.
There was like X2, Full Throttle,
Tatsu,
and Twisted Colossus.
And then it was Riddler and another rider on the other side. But they've been embracing this with like billboards around the park, and I'm really loving that. It's almost like the Cedar Point thing, not to draw that parallel, where like Cedar Point's focus has always been like we market the shit out of our big coasters because that's what our identity is.
Yeah.
And I think Magic Mountain's finally embraced like their identity is those funny coasters. You don't go to Magic Mountain for Bugs Bunny World necessarily.
Yeah.
You don't go to Magic Mountain necessarily for Crazy Andy, though it is a really good flat ride.
Yeah.
You go to Magic Mountain for that like stellar lineup of 20 coasters that I still think is by far the best coaster lineup in the world.
By far.
There's an episode on that, Secret Magic Mountain for Cedar Point. Listen to it. But I really enjoy they've been embracing that, and I think it's like a perfect 20th edition.
I mean, when they made new merchandise for Ninja.
And for Viper, there's so much new Viper merchandise.
I saw the Ninja merch, and I thought I was going to pee my pants. Like, I was so excited. I cannot tell you how happy I was. Oh, I felt like a little kid again. But yeah, we're really happy with the direction that Magic Mountain seems to be going, and we feel really excited and curious about the next few steps now that we're at number 20 with coasters, and there's been a lot of talk about Magic Mountain spearheading the new direction of the Six Flags chain when it comes to things like food.
I mean, it is the flagship park, and of all the parks, it is the park that has the better food, it has the better merch. Operationally, I wouldn't say necessarily Star Wars Great Adventure or Great America, because those parks it gets really busy in a shorter season as Magic Mountain's 365. So their crowds really seem to be spread throughout because you have either the heat of the summer kind of keeping people home, or like the Magic Mountain's crowds are really nice to spread. Like the summer isn't crazy busy. Like the whole year is kind of the same business. I really enjoy that. Like whenever you go to Magic Mountain, generally speaking, the same busyness. Unless it's like a holidays period, it gets pretty busy then.
If it's not, as long
or
as
like
it's not Halloween or Christmas,
so that's kind of enjoyable. But Magic Mountain really is kind of like the leader in the chain, and you can tell like the park's just nicely maintained. The only thing that's really left to fix, I think, is Samurai Summit. But other than that, I mean, the park is just in great shape. They do need another water ride because Roaring Rapids isn't always open. I think it hasn't even opened for the season yet. And Jetstream cannot carry that park.
Jetstream can't do it alone.
We are talking high desert, 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit every day in the summer. It's just brutally hot out there.
Especially on days where Hurricane Harbor isn't open, which it's only open like 3 months out of the year. And Magic Mountain is hot like 9 months out of the year.
Yeah, Fright Fest starts in like September, and like I guess Hurricane Harbor closes around like the first week of July. I mean, of October. So there's definitely a couple of weeks where Fright Fest runs alongside Hurricane Harbor, which is kind of funny. But then you notice, like later in October, you'll be there late at night. It's still really hot,
crazy hot.
Doing the Fright Fest thing. So I would hope another water coaster and a good flat ride package can make such a difference. But any which way the park is going, they're in such a good shape.
A Mac Twist and Splash and a Mac Power Splash together.
A little Mac
little Aquaman
water molecule hidden island situation.
A little Aquaman and Penguin.
But before we lose your attention span, go ahead and visit thecoasterkings.com. We have an amazing Everything Wonder Woman article that talks about all the things Wonder Woman that we discussed today. Close look at the elements, lots of pictures, 3 videos. We got a vlog, we got our on-rides, we got the POV, all that good stuff. If you want to just look at the videos, go straight to our YouTube channel and search for Coaster Kings. You'll find it there as well. We appreciate you listening to this episode. We really hope you enjoyed it. We have a couple more episodes coming this season that we're actually working on right now, doing some armchair Imagineering stuff, which will be kind of fun. I really look forward to that.
Love a little armchair.
A Hotter or Not is still coming, I promise. It is in this for this season. And we'll be back probably next week or maybe the week after with some more content.
Yeah.
Leave a review on Spotify or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts or Amazon, wherever you're listening. And we will catch you on the next episode of Coaster Kings Radio. Bye.